Wondering how to grow your business using YouTube? Cameron Anderson is the owner of Blacktail Studio woodworking shop with more than 1.6 million subscribers to their YouTube channel.
I wanted a price point that was a no-brainer, and that one sold for over $15,000.
Along with this massive social media following, Blacktail Studio has built a virtual community with a makerspace database, online workshops, and other resources for woodworkers all across the country.
You know, they always say to diversify your investments, but nobody talks about diversifying your income, because you lose your job, you lose 100% of your income.
How do you turn that following into revenue or sales of some sort? Today, we're finding out how Cameron built this community, how it's helped his business grow, and his advice for other entrepreneurs on how to turn online fans into real business success. Big thanks to ClickLease for sponsoring this video. For those that haven't seen our first interview with you, tell us a little bit about Blacktail Studio, when and why you started it, and anything else you want to highlight.
Sure. Blacktail started in, I believe, 2016 formally, but my YouTube channel started around 2018, and I'm just a small one-man woodworking shop that is now kind of more of a woodworking YouTube page with a small woodworking shop. I used to be a pilot. I was a life flight pilot, and we had a great schedule. We worked 7 days on, then we had a whole 7 days off, and so I needed a hobby. And so like a lot of people, you know, in the last couple of years that have picked up things like woodworking, I had the time, and so I just said, I'm gonna learn to woodwork. And so I started woodworking and started selling things and started social media with it, and just kind of snowballed from there.
What are the benefits of selling or even potentially giving away some educational products as a small business owner like yourself?
YouTube is really kind of the ones that I'm giving away. I mean, that's all essentially free content. And I found that the online courses I do, those are more for the people that really need to learn how to do something entirely, you know, go through all the boring stuff. I have to keep everything so interesting and fast-paced in YouTube that you don't necessarily learn exactly how to sand and finish something because it's kind of boring if you're not into it. So YouTube, I've had success giving it away, and the online workshops is more the ones that are able to generate the revenue through that longer form content.
How do we grow subs? How do we do that? What have you learned so far? Anything else? I want to extract that from you and share it with our viewers.
Sure. I mean, that's a $1 million question.
Indeed it is.
One thing I do is I ask for it. And I ask for it earnestly. Let me give you an example of what not to do.
Okay, that was my follow-up question.
And let me see if you guys do this in this video when I'm watching it.
Okay.
So don't start a video and say, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, yada, yada, because you haven't given them anything. All you've done is wasted their time. You're taking time from what they're there to watch the video, and it's annoying them, and if anything, they're gonna unsubscribe. So wait till you give them a really good tip, a really good trick, something like that, whether it's business advice or maybe a really fun woodworking scene that I do. And after that, I'll say, you know what, guys, it really makes a big deal, or it's a big difference to me if you subscribe. Only do it if you want to. You know, this isn't charity, but if you'd like to, I would really appreciate it. And just give them an honest, you know, hey, this means a lot to me, and I appreciate it.
I think that's an incredible tip. So if you guys take a nanosecond and subscribe, like, hit that bell, it works well for all of us, and we appreciate the support. So that's great. That's something that we shouldn't be doing at the beginning of the video, right? That makes sense. Tell us the social media platforms that Black Studio is on, and why are they the best places to engage with customers?
I tell everyone, do all the social media. You know, I have to focus a lot on YouTube. I would like to focus more back on Instagram. I started out kind of on Instagram. I need to do more on TikTok. I'm starting to do more on Facebook, but do as many as you have the bandwidth for, and something's gonna give. You're gonna have success somewhere unless at another platform, but if you have the time, do all of them.
Where are you engaged mostly right now? Which platform?
YouTube for sure.
Just with the comments and reading and responding?
Yeah, it's you know, and creating all the content for it. And what most YouTube creators do is they use that content, they chop that up and repurpose it on Instagram and Facebook and places like that.
Why is it important for you to spend time and respond to feedback and comments? Not just for the YouTube algorithm, like for you, what's inside your mind?
It's a focus group. I mean, people spend millions and millions of dollars on focus groups, you know, these big businesses, and this is my focus group.
Wow, so you're getting all that feedback, improving and growing on that.
Yeah.
If there's a business out there that's just starting a YouTube channel, what would your advice be, or a number of advice that they can do right away to be successful in their growth?
I don't want to guarantee success in their growth, but don't start it with the intent of, oh, I want to have 1 million subs and make a bunch of money and sell a bunch of product. Do it more for the viewer. And it can secretly in the back of your head can be trying to get that 1 million subs and have all the success. But it's transparent when people are doing all the cliche things that they see other creators do in the hopes of building a channel. And it just comes across not as genuine, not as they're trying to help the audience, more as that they're just trying to grow their page. So just focus more on the audience and less on yourself and less on the growth.
Amazing. Cam, how do you manage your content and activity across all platforms, if that's even what you need to do?
I'd like to get a little bit more regimented with it. Right now I'm posting a new YouTube video about every 4 weeks, and then the other platforms whenever I think about it or whenever I have the time. I'd like to, now that I have that new videographer, kind of get a structure of like, hey, we're gonna do 3 Instagram posts a week, 1 YouTube video every 3 weeks, 1 Facebook video a week, and just have like a standard thing. And that way we can maybe have a chart and just knock those out and make sure we don't miss anything.
So you're not at the confirmed SOP yet, you're kind of working that out.
Yeah, this is, day 3 of having an employee, so right now we're onboarding, but yeah, I think it's going to help a lot.
That's awesome. How do you choose topics for your videos?
Traditionally, what I've done is I am a woodworking company and I'm still making furniture for clients, so I just make a video of the build process. And now I'm trying to branch out a little bit more. I'm trying to not make the same video 30 times because that's what people do. They keep ordering what they've seen me make. So we did a charity raffle a couple months ago that I got to build something really unique, and it ended up selling for $12,000, which we gave to Make-A-Wish. After that, we did another auction that was just for me. It was just actually like business income, and that one sold for over $15,000. Anymore, I'm kind of using my gut, saying, hey, I think this would be a cool video. But originally, I just did videos on what I was working on at the time.
Somebody watching this and they are in the woodworking business as well, it's like, at which point do you need to branch out and do something else? Because I can imagine if it's the same videos of you making the same things for 3-5 years, how do you change? How do you adapt and still give value back? What do you think?
I'm trying not to wait until my content's not popular before I change. I'm trying to diversify a little bit now, and that way I open myself up to be able to do, really different things, but still related to the woodworking community.
In woodworking, equipment can get very expensive. That's why we're excited to share how ClickLease can help new and established businesses acquire the equipment they need to elevate their business to new heights. ClickLease works with vendors all across the US and makes applying a breeze. ClickLease will help you find the right lease term and payment plan that best suits you. Once you lock it in, it never changes for the duration of the term. So click the link in the description below to learn more about how ClickLease can help you acquire the big ticket items that you need to grow your business. Simply submit the details on the equipment you need, ranging anywhere from $500 all the way up to $20,000, and their AI-driven system will process your request within 10 minutes. No hard credit check will be pulled. Again, thank you to ClickLease for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to click the link in the description below so that you can learn all about what ClickLease can do for you. Besides the wood products that you sell, right, and that you work on custom, you have a lot of digital things that you provide as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I have some digital, and now I'm working on getting more digital ones. I believe when you were here last time, I just released my virtual epoxy workshop.
Yes,
and that was in response to, we used to do them in person, and then it got really hard around 2020 to get 20 people from around the country in a small room together. So people kept asking, they're like, hey, I'm in India, I'm in England, I'm wherever, I want to take your workshop, can you do it online? It was a lot of prep, it was a lot of work, because I wanted to make it as good or better than my in-person one. So I spent a couple months prepping for that. I hired an actual video crew, not just me with my camera like I was doing at the time. And I had created this, it's about 3.5 hours long, where it's everything in my in-person workshop in an online workshop. So it was something I'm really proud of, and that's done really, really well. And I want to do more of that. I want to have lots more online tutorials, because that's kind of the future where we're going, this masterclass format, whereas you can only do so much in person, but having a pretty good online reach now, there's a lot of opportunities.
And it's another income source besides the beautiful wood products that you create. What else in addition to the workshop? You've got the Makerspace database or other things that you sell as well that you want to highlight or mention?
Sure. So the Makerspace database, right now, that's me just kind of giving back a little bit, because it's not monetized at all.
Yeah.
And all that is again, it's one of those things I get a lot of questions about and a lot of comments where people would say, how do I find a big shop like the one that you use up in Portland? And I was like, I don't know, call around, call a cabinet shop. And I never really knew. And about the 100th time I got this question, I was like, there should be a website where people can put their shops, whether it's a small garage shop or a big industrial shop, up on my website, and then somebody can find it. So kind of like people call it Uber for tools, but I'm not making money on it. Or yeah, and
I'm sure
don't get me wrong,
I
I love the idea of monetizing it. I just want to make it something people want first. I don't want to charge people make money off something that they don't really want. So that's gone well. I've just started working with a guy who's helping me launch products, so like physical products to get into some stores. So we're just finishing up a jig that we created that I'm actually pretty excited about, and that'll be actually in stores and online here probably in the next few weeks.
That's awesome. Can you show it to us later?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Give us a quick overview of the shop since the last time we were here. Has anything changed?
You know, you're here just like probably 3 weeks too early. I'm just starting kind of the phase 2 of the shop. I tried to do a shop expansion and the county said no.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now
so here on site, just
here on site, I was going to kind of double the size of the shop. So instead, I finally resigned just to make this the best shop that I can until I can figure out what I'm going to do.
Good call.
So I have this lumber storage that's really, really not very great.
It's working for now.
Yeah. So I have some like extremely heavy duty cantilever racks that I'm going to attach inside the walls that are going to hold a bunch of slabs so I can bring more inventory in and get stuff out of the way.
Kind of the same as I remember, but
it's mostly the same. I'm starting to organize a little bit more, getting some things up on the wall. I think this was actually here last time we were here.
Yes.
Again, you're a couple weeks early. This will be done in the next couple weeks. I'm finally working on it because it does look a little different than the last video because I just had it CNC'd.
That's one special piece here.
It's going to be really neat. Like all YouTubers, that we have to put our achievements up on the wall. That's new.
There you go, 1 million subs.
Yeah, so I got
amazing.
that. I got that on display now. But other than that, no, it's pretty much the same shop.
Okay. Putting a price on a digital product is not as easy as something you can hold in your hand, right? So how did you decide or analyze the market for your courses? You know, $50 versus $1,000.
Sure. My in-person workshop was $250 or $249. I wanted a price point that was a no-brainer. I wanted it to be where somebody didn't have to think about it if it was just such a great value. So right now the course is $99. I'm working with a guy in marketing and he's telling me that's way too cheap. So I think we're going to go to $149. So if you're watching this and it's $99, maybe it's a good time to buy.
There you go.
I just don't want it to be a huge barrier to entry. I want it to be like, these epoxy tables are pretty expensive to build anyway. You're gonna have over $1,000 maybe in materials. So what's $100 to make sure it works out well?
It's not a lot at all. I mean, if I was on the receiving end and wanted to find this kind of educational information, I'd pay $500. So do you listen to the audience and you see what the market's doing? I mean,
I didn't analyze it. I should. Okay. It's one of those things that it'd be great if I had somebody in my corner that was good at that. So I just went with my gut and was like, you know what? I think it's a no-brainer at this price point, so I'm going to do it at this price point.
Yeah, I think you're super fair, and I think you give away a ton of value to people.
I appreciate that.
That's pretty awesome. You mentioned other products, digital things. Talk to us different income streams that you have right now, how you possibly monetize and monetize what?
Sure. I remember thinking it was always so weird that almost everybody has one income stream. You know, they always say to diversify your investments, but nobody talks about diversifying your income because you lose your job, you lose 100% of your income.
Well said, yeah.
So now, YouTube does pay from the ads. The affiliate links, when I have a tool, I'll just say, hey, there's a link to it in the description. And it's not like an ad because people, they don't want to search for it. They don't want to have question marks. They want the exact thing you're using or they want to know where it is or how much it is. So you get, a small percentage, but if you get a couple million views, that can really add up.
And you're making it easier for your customers.
It
right?
is, yeah. It's actually, they don't see it as an ad. They see it as a service, which I was nervous at first of saying, oh, you could look for the link, but that's what they want it. I started monetizing Facebook. I wasn't doing anything on there, and that's actually been another great revenue stream. The virtual workshops have been phenomenal. I want to do more of those like we talked about. And then I get sponsorships for the videos. Yep. So that's another good revenue stream. I'd like to start phasing those out as my dream. Don't hold me to this. If you come back in 2 years, I'm still taking sponsors, but
note that.
I'd like to bet on myself through the products and the workshops and things like that, is just push my own products, because if it's good enough for a sponsor to pay me X number of dollars, it should be good enough for me to just say that I think I could sell that many products with that time instead of a sponsor.
The workshop. I know we keep coming back to that, but we're talking about creating other income streams and providing value. How much time do you spend on that per week still? Is it pretty much a passive income at this point, or do you devote weekly, daily hours to that?
So I do go through at least once a week, and that is a place where I do respond to every question still. So
I see.
There's, hundreds of questions, but it's not, tens of thousands of questions. So I go through and I will respond to everybody's questions because they will say, hey, I might have missed this section. And most of the time, that information's in the workshop, but a lot of times they'll answer their own question before I get to it. They'll say, got to chapter 13, thanks, sorry. So a couple hours a week, but it's mostly passive.
The next question that I want to ask is the makerbook.io, and we've asked about it before, but what else can you highlight? The importance, how it helped your business, and how it provided value and more value to your customers.
And that's the makerspace database. That's where if you have maybe a shop like mine or maybe a smaller shop and you say, I want to be able to buy some more tools and help some people out, so maybe I'm going to rent some time out. And so they're an independent contractor. Someone goes on my website, looks just like Yelp, and it has a map search and says, hey, I want someone that has this tool close to me. Is there anybody? And sometimes they're really small shops, sometimes they're huge industrial shops, and they have a fee, and you just go pay that person. And now you can get into woodworking for basically no money in terms of no tools, upfront costs. If you don't have a garage or a space to work, you can go use someone else's space and use their tools.
So in this business or this industry, there's a lot of tools. I would imagine you can just go to Ace and buy what you need, but is that not the case when it comes to specific woodworking tools?
Kind of, sort of. You can buy a lot of tools locally, but it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
So it comes to cost.
Yeah, and so if someone says, hey, I don't even know if I want to get into woodworking, I don't want to spend $1,000 or $3,000, maybe I'll go pay this guy $80, get this project done, and now, oh yeah, that's fun. Maybe I do want to look into this a little bit more. So it's makerbook.io is the actual URL for it.
Got it.
You might actually have to put your email in, or I think you can log in with Facebook or Google, like most websites.
In terms of software or tools, is there anything out there that you're using to grow your following online, or is it just natural?
So I'm a sucker for the YouTube analytics, and I think that's a huge, huge part of growing your channel. Is I talk about listening to the people, but also listen to the analytics. And it's just the free YouTube Studio app. And looking at your click-through rate, I do A/B testing of thumbnails and titles, and it's made a massive difference in the success of my videos. Is testing the titles, testing the thumbnails. I know you guys do a little bit of that too.
We do a lot of it, yeah. And what do you do specifically? Is it just one title? You look at the views, and if it doesn't work, you change the title right away? Or I'm not on that UpFlip team, so I'd love to share more.
Right now, I pick my best guess, and I let it ride for a week or two. And this is something I learned. Mark Rober? He's got 20 million subscribers. He's on Jimmy Kimmel. He's like a actual famous YouTuber. And he says he won't start a video unless he knows unless he can picture the thumbnail, I think it is, or the thumbnail and the title. And so that was always an afterthought for me. So now when I'm building a project, I'm thinking so much about the thumbnail and the title, because that's probably 50% of the success of a video is that thumbnail and title.
That's incredible. How long does it take from start to finish for each video, and what's like the big step in the entire picture of that?
I mean, sometimes my builds take months, and so, from the time I pick wood up, it might be 3 months until the table's finished, and it doesn't mean that's the only thing I'm working on at the time, but, and then it could even be a couple weeks of editing after that, so.
Is editing kind of the majority of the time that is consumed to create that video? Or is
the camera setup is a lot, because I try to get really good, really interesting shots. The higher my quality of video has gone up, the better my views, better everything's gone. So one shot that you'll see me pushing a board through a table saw might be me pushing it part ways, stopping the saw, walk over, grab my camera, move it, change the height, change the lens, and then finish the cut, and that was 2 seconds, but it took me a minute or 2 minutes to do that whole setup. So
as a one-man show, but now that's different.
Now we got Scott. We got Scott over there, and hopefully he's going to be able to really up the pace of that. But there's still, you still have to physically move a camera, and we're going to do a little bit of 2-camera stuff to speed it up. And I think he's got a really good professional background, and I think he's going to be able to offer me a lot of advice of like, hey, let's do it this way, because now we don't have to do that type of thing.
Okay. Do you have a frequency on posting YouTube videos? I know you mentioned earlier on. Is that going to change?
So right now, since I've been a one-man shop, I've been every 4 weeks, and I could sustain that. I'd like to get that to maybe definitely 3 weeks now that I got Scott, my videographer, or maybe I think 2 weeks would be as fast as I could potentially go. But I found posting less better content, everything went up. My views, my subscriptions, everything. When I was posting like filler content, I got to get a video out this week, it hurt everything. So
that's important.
Just if it takes 2 months to get a good video out, take 2 months.
So it's not the quantity of videos, it's the quality.
Today, as of May of 2020, that's what I'm noticing with YouTube. And maybe this time next year it'll be totally changed because YouTube goes from favoring short form content to long form and back and forth.
Do you capture emails from your customers? Do you have an emailing list at all that
I do.
is beneficial?
I've been working on getting better at the email list. I'm kind of partnering with a guy who's really good at that. And so
specifically for the email list?
And he's also helping me with that product, the bow tie jig. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he is working on my email capture where I'm also doing some woodworking plans. And so we have some kind of incentives on my website now where, hey, you can get access to like kind of my down and dirty how to build an epoxy table PDF if you put your email in type of thing. And so capturing those emails so then I can send them future products and things that they may be interested in. Hopefully I'm not spamming them, but giving them something that they may or may not be able to use.
How often are you sending, previous months? Is it once a month, once a week?
It's been depending on the projects that we're doing. So, and it also depends on the person. He's really smart about, what brought the person to subscribe, where did they come from? So it's not one of those daily, email things. It'd be, once or twice a month.
Got it. So let's say somebody's watching right now who's doing YouTube, but they're not doing the best, struggling maybe with cameras. What can you share that you've learned as you've evolved to create better content? Is it just cameras? Is it the lighting? I mean, what are some tips, especially if it's a one-man show?
One thing at a time is I was watching, I think it was MKB, Marquez Brownlee, whatever his channel is called. He's got 15 million subs. He's really successful. He talks about people say, gosh, I can never be where you're at because look, he's shooting with these $20,000 cameras and he's got crews and studios and robot arms. And he goes, you're not competing with me now. You're competing with me when I started.
I see.
And he was, on an Android phone with horrible lights and all that. So don't think that you have to be at, I don't want to say my level as if it's the apex, but it's a lot better than I started. I got to over 700,000 subs with my iPhone. Wow. So it's not about the content, or it's not about the cameras and all that type of stuff. Just, listening to the analytics, listening to the audience, making good content.
That's amazing. Quick blitz time with Cam, the man of the hour. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self, don't do this thing, what would it be?
Careful on the sponsors you take. I had a pretty good amount of success with building up, and I started doing some kind of fringe content, and I took kind of a shady sponsor in terms of it was off brand. I did that for several videos, and my views and everything just tanked, and it took me like a year to get back to where I was before.
Wow, okay, that's an awesome tip. What do you do with your profits? You buy fancy cars, or you spend it on something else?
I got a super fancy 2014 Toyota Tundra, so no, I try to put it back into the company. You met Scott, my videographer, so my first ever employee. He's on day 3, so spending it on back into the company.
That's awesome. And last, what's the best part of being an entrepreneur and doing what you do?
You're in control of your own destiny. I love the fact that it's a lot of pressure, but nobody can decide what happens for me. The layoffs or things like that, I don't have to worry about. As long as I'm taking care of myself, then I'll be fine.
Talk to us about your YouTube following. I mean, incredible 1.5. I think when we first met you, you were around 1.2, and now you're, I think, north of 1.6. Mm-hmm. How has that translated to revenue and just business growth and success overall?
It's been phenomenal. There's no mistaking it helps my woodworking sales. It helps my workshop sales. It helps everything. If I have a really good video, I'll start getting little notifications where I'm like, I wonder if that video is doing good, because now I see some sales coming in and things like that. So it's phenomenal. And it's not something that everybody has access to, but I don't think you need 1.6 million for it to make a big difference.
You started with one.
Yeah, I remember the first time, when, and this was early on, and my affiliate sales, I made like $1,000 in a month. And I was like, whoa, if I could do that every month, and now I have a bunch of different revenue sources. So it's really great for the income and stability.
As a business owner who's probably considering doing other products, digital products, how do you personally gauge demand? Do you do market research to, like you mentioned something that you're coming out with, right? Your actual product.
Sure.
Why do you think that's going to do well? Did you do some research? Is it feedback?
It's kind of coming from listening to the audience. I get a lot of people that I do a lot of bow tie inlays in my videos, and they're really intricate and they take a lot of time and they take a lot of tools. And so we have a jig that, I'm not the first person to come up with a jig like this, but I feel like I'm the first person to make a really cool looking one.
Okay,
and
so you went for the cool factor.
Yeah, like there's functional ones, they're just kind of ugly, and that's one of the reasons why I never did it. And so I just made a cool version of something that is really useful and needed and only requires one tool instead of all the dozen tools it takes me to do a nice hand cut inlay.
Can we walk over right now and see it? Or is
no, I can show you.
Give us a quick sneak peek of what you're talking about.
Here's all the iterations that we ran through.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what this does is...
This is cool.
I think it's pretty neat.
I can't help but say this is cool. Okay.
And it doesn't really require a ton of skill. You're able to just use this old template, and you use a router, and you cut out the shape, and then you use a little offset, and you cut out the bow tie, and it just snaps into place, and it's pretty much as simple as that.
On YouTube, obviously a ton of educational free information that people can learn from you. And then you've got the course. So how did you decide what goes in the course and you can monetize on that? And then what stuff gives away for free on YouTube? How does one replicate what you're doing and decide on that?
I do have some advice to anybody out there doing YouTube or considering starting YouTube and wondering about that. Give everything away. Everything that people want to see, don't hold anything back. And people used to ask me, why are you training your competitors how to build this, these tables on YouTube? And why are you giving this away? And I never had a good answer. But for example, one of my most common clients that I get would be a dentist that would say, I want to build my own table, so I watched your video. That's way too much work, so just build me a table. And so I didn't expect that when I started, because then they see how much work goes into it. So the more I gave away, the more I got back. And I kept giving more and more away, and the more I got in terms of views and subscribers and everything like that.
Anything else you can add in terms of the YouTube algorithm and reaching your intended audience on YouTube?
I would never worry about reaching your intended audience, because your intended audience, for me, might be 50,000 woodworkers out there. Maybe it's 100,000. What I want is 5 million or 10 million people to watch my videos, and then I'll get all 50,000 or all 100,000 of those woodworkers. If you aim too niche, you really limit yourself. And I have to tell this to sponsors all the time, is like, you don't want me really targeting only the person that wants to sharpen this jig. You want me to target 5 million people and show people out there, oh wow, maybe I want to start woodworking, and now I'll use that tool.
Reignite that interest in them. What is the number one piece of advice that you have for business owners who want to build a community around a product and service that they have?
Be the best version of yourself. Don't be a YouTube personality that you saw somebody else do and you think that it's going to resonate with your audience if it's not you. So I had a much different personality than some of the big woodworking YouTubers when I started. And I was like, I can't be like that guy. It's just not me. And so I just did the best version of myself and engaged with my audience, listened to them, talk to them. I do live sessions, all that things, just genuinely like kind of being a friend to them as much as you can through these virtual platforms.
And that comes across when you like you said, when you're genuine, it really makes a difference.
I feel like it does, and maybe that doesn't work for everybody, but that's been my formula.
Okay. In terms of you testing the thumbnail and the title, how many times are you doing that across what time frame as well?
Sometimes once, sometimes, zero, maybe if I have a really successful one, sometimes a lot. People will even comment sometimes. They're like, I've seen this thumbnail change 5 times since last week. And it's a little embarrassing because now they can see like something's not working for you. But eventually, once you hit it, like you'll see that spike and you're like, that's the thumbnail, that's the title we need.
So it's okay to continue changing it, right? Even if it's 2 months later and you feel like that needs to be changed.
I've resurrected dead videos.
Wow.
I got a bunch of examples. I can give you one example. I had a video, it was a build video, and they're usually pretty popular, and they got about 600,000 views, but other ones were getting like 2 million at the time.
Whoa.
And I thought, I thought that one would have been better. Over a year later, I changed the thumbnail, and that one's now over 6 million and counting.
No way.
Yeah, and I have another one that went from 3 million, which is great, and who would think that you could improve on that? And I was like, just might as well try. And that one's over 14 million now.
The resurrection of dead YouTube videos. I like that. What's one mistake grand mistake that you've made in your YouTube involvement, and how did you correct that?
I didn't listen to what the audience was telling me in terms of the analytics and really what they wanted to see. I had a stage when I moved into this shop, and it was going to take a lot to turn this shop from what it was into what you see now. And so I'm like, I'll just make videos on that. And so I had a lot of filler content because I thought I had to make a video a week or a video every 2 weeks, and the content wasn't very good. And it just, you can have one bad video, but if you have a few that are tapering down, YouTube pretty soon is going to go, wow, this guy, people don't like his stuff very much. Let's not show it to more people. And so doing that filler content with some, taking the sponsor money that now I turn down a lot of sponsors. I mean, ridiculous sums that people offer me.
Wow, but because they don't apply to this industry or just your choice? Or
it's
that's a mistake people can make.
It is, and it's hard because trust me, I am a sellout and I have a price, but for the most part, if I can't work it in naturally, I won't do the ad. And
well, give me an example of like something that's just like somebody reached out, it'd be totally wacko for you to be sponsoring and mentioning that in your video.
Oh gosh.
Is it like a toothbrush company? Is that what you mean? I'm just trying to understand.
Maybe like a really weird video game that I, don't play type of thing. And
that would be so weird.
Yeah, and they have big budgets, so it's tempting sometimes. But yeah, if you have just something really off-brand, really something that your audience doesn't watch, and that brand won't let you work it in organically to your thing because they have really set scripts and things that they want you to do. So people are really enjoying your woodworking video and everything's going, and then you just like stop and you're like playing a video game and they're like, whoa, what happened?
That's a turn off.
And if you do that enough times, I think it can really, really hurt your channel.
All right. Content for all the Blacktail Studio. Do you do all that? Do you have somebody on the back end working?
No, well, as of up until 3 days ago, 100% of all the content I've ever made is made by me. I mentioned I have a new full-time videographer, so that we're going to be collaborative now.
Nice.
But my virtual workshop, I mentioned I hired a film crew for that, so I had like an actual professional crew for that. But as far as my social media, I do everything.
How did you learn the skills though when you got started with the cameras and the lighting? Is it just day by day, week by week?
I saw a billboard that said, "Don't be afraid to suck at something new."
I like that.
So just being really bad.
Suck at something new.
Yeah, being really bad, and then watching it and go, "Oh, that was really bad. What can I do to get better?"
That's awesome. Anything else you want to highlight in terms of improving performance and the effectiveness of the videos you post, besides the YouTube analytics? And
I keep a fast pace, and I don't necessarily mean physically like running around pace, but don't give people a chance to leave. Don't give people a chance to breathe. Always give something.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Be giving value every second. If I'm editing a video and I'm going through and I was like, I'm sanding a table and it's 10 seconds long or it's 7 seconds long, I go, there's nothing in that 7 seconds that can't be accomplished in 2. Mm-hmm. So just cut it down to 2. Now they see I sanded the table and I'm on to the next step. And so there's so much filler of people that'll say, oh, let me stop and tell you about this. And if it slows the video down, if it inhibits the pace, I just cut it out.
Yeah, you're really trying to do value-packed videos. Skip all the 7-second sanding, you go down to 2.
Yeah, and
I see the value.
And I've gotten that from my analytics. I'll look and I'll see a little downtick, and I go, what happened there? And I go to that section of the video, and it's where I come onto camera and I'll say, hey guys, I wanted to tell you about this. And they're like, okay, and I'm like, okay, don't do that anymore.
That's amazing. Okay. Talk to us about your workshop. How long did it take you? Who helped you? What were the biggest challenges?
Well, the good thing is I had done a number of the workshops before, and I had an outline that I made because I gave it out to my students. So I was able to start there. And I also had a blog that was all the step-by-steps to building an epoxy table. So I kind of bounced those off of each other and spent a lot of hours writing it out because I wanted to have everything in there and not get to section 10 and realize, oh wait, I didn't even talk about this. So it took me probably about 2 months of writing it out, planning it out. We were able to film it in, I believe, 4 days of 4 long days. I had a great videographer, and so it was a lengthy process, but I'm really proud of what came out, and I haven't really had any negative feedback. There's not anybody saying, oh, I don't understand this, or I don't understand this, and so far it's been great.
How do you think you want to improve it moving forward, if there's anything?
If something does change major with how I build these tables, I'll add a chapter in there at no expense. Like I'm not going to have a version 2 for the workshop. And that's the question I've gotten from people is they're like, well, I don't want to buy this one if you're going to have the Mark II version. And I'm like, no, this is the epoxy workshop. What I would like to do is have, I might even do like a woodworking business workshop. You know, it's kind of similar to the stuff that you guys do. I might do like a table finishing workshop where I show how to finish tables in a small workshop with different finishes that, you know, might not be available to everybody. So I could show how I do it. Then, hey, if you can't get this, try this.
In terms of the following that you have, right? How do you turn that following into revenue or sales of some sort, whether it's your digital products or your woodworking products?
I think it's just
Does it just happen naturally?
I think it's just listening to them. You know, I'm not trying to shove any products down people's throats that are off-brand.
Yeah.
So I listen to what they want, the videos that I've had success with, making content related to that that's better, it's an improvement, that's a value, and it kind of takes care of itself.
Okay, I spend a lot of time reading all our comments on our videos, and I've read yours, and I gotta say, you guys, so much positive feedback. People love you and your presence and your work, so kudos to you.
I appreciate that. I do have a kind of a running joke at the end of my videos where I'll post the one mean comment and my response to it at the end of my videos.
Always mean comments.
And so people think that I have so many of those, but overwhelmingly they're positive, so I really do appreciate it. I have great viewers.
Let's talk about social media again, and curious about your expense per month. Where are you spending the most on social media? What's giving you the best ROI or exposure?
Social media is free. What do you mean? Yeah.
But we can spend more money. They'll take it if you give it.
I've never advertised on. Okay, that's a lie. When I've had like 100 Instagram followers, I paid to promote some posts, and it was a waste. But other than that, never pay for Facebook ads or YouTube ads or any of that. It's just
You've got
a waste.
no expense on social media right now.
I mean, I have a huge expense of employee and film and materials like
but
that.
Not ad expense on
Never.
So what's giving you the boost and what's
videos? That's what we're doing here. We're making good content. If you make good content, people will find it. If you promote it, fake people will find it, or the people that you're not even looking for. It almost hurts you more than it helps you because you'll get in front of the wrong people.
Right. Well said. What platform do you use to provide your online courses? And is that the same as the plans that you're going to be selling as well?
The virtual workshop is hosted through a company or a website called Podia.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, I hadn't either. You look at some of the Teachables and those ones that have the bigger names, they take a way bigger cut, so they don't actually take a cut of the sales. It's just like a monthly fee.
I see.
So Podia is the one for that, but you wouldn't even know it because it's got kind of like a Blacktail URL attached to it, which is actually nice. So people don't feel like, why am I going to this company I've never heard of, or this URL I've never heard of? The plans that I sell, which are going to be like how to build. I built my wife this really cool custom desk with integrated lights and things. So I made some custom plans on that, or I had an architect draw some up, and those are just available through my website, just my regular blacktailstudio.com.
And who's the host for that?
That is a Squarespace site.
Gotcha. And you manage that and take care of that as well?
I do, yeah.
Tell us where the idea of plans came through. Why did you want to add that as a value as well to your viewers?
I do know a number of other woodworking YouTubers that have had a lot of success with the plans, and I don't do a lot of plan-based projects, so it wasn't really on brand, and I could have just white labeled some random third-party plans, and I never wanted to do that. But I remembered my wife's desk I built. It's all these really kind of unique solid wood legs. There's these cool integrated light switches and a light that's all part of the desk, and that's something like that would actually be really good plan-based. So I had this architect draw them up because I can't do any of the,
the blueprinting.
Yeah, I can't do any of that. So I'm really proud of these plans. They turned out amazing, and those are now available on my website, just blacktailstudio.com.
For free, as long as I give you an email? Or?
No, those ones are actually a paid one.
Gotcha.
It's $49, and they actually do come with some more beginner plans, because one thing that we realized is this is a pretty advanced project, and a lot of people want to start small. So there's like about, I think, 15 other smaller plans, and then this kind of featured plan.
That's awesome. I want to give you guys a quick shout out. Check out our blog, upflip.com/blog, for complete guides on how to start a business, what tools you need to use, and a lot more. Engagement. It's super important on YouTube, right? To continue building your subscribership, add content. How do you ask for likes, comments, and what does the process look like for you on that end as well?
I don't think I've ever asked for a like. I think people will like. I get enough likes. If I compare my channel to others, they always seem pretty good. I would, like I mentioned, I do ask for the subscriptions and do it earnestly after you give them something. Something that says, "Hey, actually, I do like this channel, and I hadn't thought about it." And because I've watched videos and someone will say, "Show me something really cool," and then they'll ask for a subscription. I'll go, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't have even thought, but yeah, I do want to subscribe. Thank you for reminding me." So you're kind of doing them a favor by like, yeah, I think that is pretty fitting. doing it earnestly. Along with the comments, you get so many people that just say, like, subscribe, comment. For what? Like, on what? And what I'll say is, you know, I triggered my saw stop, which
you give them a reason.
Yeah, so I triggered my saw stop, and it normally comes in contact with skin is why it'll trigger. And I was cutting a piece of foam, and it cut half the foam and then triggered in the middle. And I go, guys, maybe one of you out there smart enough to know why this triggered.
I don't know actually why it triggered on part of the foam board and not other parts, so maybe someone out there is smart enough to leave me a comment.
And I got a lot of comments be like, oh, it's static electricity. I'm like, oh, cool.
Wow.
And so just asking them a real question that you genuinely want feedback of, not just like, comment, subscribe because it helps the algorithm.
Are you adding more workshops and digital products, and what's next for you in the next couple of years?
Definitely. I do see more of these virtual workshops as a big part of what I'm doing. So definitely want to have more of the virtual workshops. The physical products is something that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg right now. I'm working on a couple things that I can't say, but they could be game changers for me, you know, as a business. And
like products that are actually going to be in the store?
Yeah,
That's really
products
cool.
like that. But I promise one thing is everything is going to come back to YouTube. Is, you know, you see these brands or these YouTubers will grow and then kind of get, oh, I make more money doing this, I'm going to not do YouTube, and then everything kind of tanks. So YouTube is always going to be the main focus, and just making more, better content. Just keep going with that.
That's amazing. Where do you want subscribers to be 3 years from now? Give me a grand goal. Just something that goes through your mind.
I wish I was the guy that said I didn't care about subscribers and it doesn't matter, because I do. I really, it's how we keep score.
It's a goal, yeah, in a way.
3 years?
Yeah. What do you think? You're
5 million?
5 million. Wow.
Yeah, but here's the thing is everybody has this big uptick, or not everybody, but the successful pages have a big uptick and then they have a really hard plateau.
For a while?
Forever sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And so I know a lot of pages have got to mine or 3 million, and now they're growing at like 1,000 a month.
Why do you think that is, though?
I think it's a lot of YouTube, just kind of, they throttle people. And I also think that they kind of get a little bit lazier on their content. I got to be careful saying that, because it doesn't necessarily mean lazy, but not making the most viral content. So,
but there's channels out there with like 50 mil, 80 mil, you know? But yes, it's a different niche. And
it is. And so my goal for 3 years would be 5 million. Next month I could hit that plateau, and it doesn't mean I'm going to stop creating the content and doing all that, because I still have a great audience. But I'd like to keep it going as long as we can.
Yeah, it's never about the subscribers, as you said. It's about the value that we provide via the content.
It is. The subscribers are an ancillary benefit from doing everything else right.
Amen. Well, thank you. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out anytime.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap with Cam, the owner of Blacktail Studio. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We always appreciate you a ton for watching it. Comment below and take a second to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. And make sure you check out the first one with Cam.